Hey, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast presented by Bet365 and TrueMark Financial. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365 and visit TrueMark.com/compare for full details and to apply today. TrueMark Financial, federally insured by the NCUA, equal opportunity lender. It's a Wednesday night, a bonus episode for the playoffs. Wulf, Zach Berman. And if you're watching, you can see we are joined right away from the top by our PHLY Sixers man, Kyle Neubeck. I wonder what we're going to talk about. Kyle, how are you?
They told me someone needed to come in and bring the vibes down. So they found a Sixers guy, obviously. Said, you guys needed me. Hello. Thank you for having me on. Happy to be here.
Thank you.
We just figured you'd be available for something after the second round. So that's
it is nice. It is nice. We're already taking shots and well-deserved shots, I might add. So glad to talk about a team that does seem to understand how to operate a professional sports franchise. We'll say that.
Have you yourself perfected your personal Josh Harris face impression?
No, that's not something I aspire to perfect either, though. So I think I'll leave that to the experts.
Good to have my lane. Let's talk birds first, Kyle.
Sure.
You're covering the Sixers as a journalist. Do you allow yourself? I mean, you're wearing an Eagles sweatshirt right now. Do you allow yourself to let your fan out when you're watching the Eagles?
Oh yeah. So we had a little bit of a discussion about this on our Sixers show the other day, where I think the reason that I hold on to the Eagles fandom and some of my other fandoms is that I feel it allows me to be the best conduit I can be to the fans, because I'm still in their head, right? Like I still go through the Sunday or Monday night or Thursday night process of, Jesus Christ, what are these guys doing? I'm watching the Eagles in the first quarter, yelling like a maniac. I'm at the link watching a game, and I'm banging the seat in front of me, making noise and doing all that. And so while I have taken many steps back from that in Sixers world, because I keep that in Eagles world, I think that when I'm preparing questions, when I'm thinking about, what would a fan want to know, find out, read about, whatnot in Sixers world, maintaining that mentality away from basketball, I think allows me to be the best reporter and resource I can be for all our wonderful sickos here.
Now, let me ask you this, because my understanding is that at your former job, you had game day responsibilities for the Eagles.
I did.
So how have these past 2 seasons been different in your life?
Well, I will say this. God bless.
You should know that whatever it was that you were writing, as long as it was Eagles related, Zach read it.
So God bless Jimmy Kempski for doing the hard work over there at Philly Voice, and then later Seamus Clancy helping out in his way. But Jimmy did all the ZB work, right? The boots on the ground, going into the locker room, and maybe a few more stick figures than ZB tends to get into his work. But I did most of my stuff from not even necessarily from home, but remotely, where again, I'm still watching games, whether it's with friends, family, whoever, and trying to focus on the game, but also getting the chatter from everybody else. So it's just been nice to be able to enjoy it without having to say, oh, I'm going to turn this into an article, or these are kind of my thoughts. And I can just be a true maniac along with many others in the Philadelphia area.
So what is your perspective on this season for the Eagles as an Eagles fan? I guess if I were to put it this way, without knowing how this game is going to turn out, or the Super Bowl, how would you compare? We'll do a Pecknest migrate. The 2017 season, the 2022 season, and the 2024 season. These 3 championship caliber rosters, how have those experiences compared for you?
Well, so the Super Bowl winning season, I'll be honest. Yeah, like that was the one that it's hard. I had no confidence in them going into the playoffs, because it just felt like, not only did Wentz get hurt, but they didn't show much or do much in those final weeks of the season. You squeak by Atlanta, and then all of a sudden the Minnesota game happens, and it's, oh wow, this is real. But you still don't necessarily believe they're going to go toe to toe with Tom Brady and Nick Foles is going to cement his place in. So that because that was such a storybook run, right? We got the underdog mass, all that ranks the highest in terms of personal sentiment. It's also because it was the first Eagles championship of my lifetime.
Of course.
And it's like I call my dad, who he's the reason I got into sports in the first place, right? It's like a bonding thing with him. He raised me on, who do you root for every week? The Eagles and whoever's playing the Cowboys. That was like the first party trick that he taught his son, that his friends they would clap like seals when you tell all them. So, and that end to that season was special. Now, a couple years ago, I think you could argue that was a better team, the high-end firepower, having Jalen all the way to the end, and the bad taste that's left in your mouth based on how they lost. This year, I've been up and down. Like certainly the beginning of the year, there was a crisis of confidence around the fan base, but I have learned to, as lots of other people have waded into, well, why isn't Jalen doing this and why doesn't Jalen do that? I've kind of just, stepped back from that, and I get to be he's winning, so who cares type of guy, right? And focusing on, I've loved the power football, right? Like this idea that running backs are now, they're back and they're so important. And you could argue Saquon's been the best individual player in the NFL this year, and watching all that play out. So I've enjoyed and have reverence for all three seasons for different reasons, but the Super Bowl winning season can't be topped. It is what it is.
If I can sneak one question before we get to the Josh Harris thing, it's that there's a sentiment from a lot of the Sixers, a lot of the Sixers fans. I know that it's like they start following the Sixers the day the Eagles season ends, whenever that is. Whether it's at the end of the regular season, the end of the playoffs, the end of the Super Bowl, whatever it may be. As someone as connected to the Sixers as anyone in this market, do you notice that from the fan base, from the viewers, from the readers, that there's an uptick once the Eagles season ends? And then I should also say, I apologize to all those fans who are watching who are going to join the Sixers once the Eagles season ends.
Yeah, listen, you just have to kind of accept it, right? That this is a football town. This is a Philadelphia Eagles city. And it helps that I'm still into it, right? That I am a fan myself. And so I can't exactly get fired up or mad at people who are, you're not going to call them fair weather fans, or like, oh, you don't matter as much as the people who are here in November and December. And, the NBA season is so damn long that, frankly, if you miss November and December, maybe you miss the beginnings of somebody's, rookie year and some of the other stuff. But you have a lot of time to get caught up. I frankly have been an advocate for cutting that season down anyway for a long time for a multitude of reasons. So I certainly see that dynamic exists, and I embrace anybody who is enough of a lunatic to graduate from this Eagles season to whatever the hell is going on with the Sixers right now.
Jared McCain was fun for a few weeks for all those things we did not get to watch. Yeah.
All right, we have some news that we will get to later from what happened at the Neubeck complex today, and some injury updates and stuff like that. But let's use that as our jumping in point here. As you talk about, this is an Eagles town. That is what is understood. And so from your perspective, how tenable is it for the owner of a team in the city to also be the owner of a chief rival of the most popular team in town, knowing that owner cares way more about that team and is from DC and is not really a Philly guy? How tenable is this?
So I would say this. I do think to some degree winning heals all wounds. And if the Sixers were as successful as maybe people hoped they were, it's a thing that people wouldn't love, right? But they would tolerate. But I think given where the teams are at, it really sticks in the craw, right? Where the Commanders are on the rise right now. They seem to have found a franchise quarterback who's going to lead them into the future. Meanwhile, the Sixers are just falling apart on every level. It was funny. I've recorded something earlier today for our YouTube channel that a year ago today is when Joel Embiid scored 70 points. And in the time since, he has played 20 regular season games. He can't go through a practice without his knee swelling up and missing, a week to 10 days. Paul George is signed as a big addition and is having his worst season in probably 13, 14 years, whatever it is, since his rookie year. Maxey has regressed, although some of that's not his fault. And so for that to all be taking place, and there's nobody that's really stepping up to talk, to take responsibility, accountability. The only real public statements we're seeing on the Sixers as of late have been about the arena, where they went through this whole multi-million-dollar process just to get a city council vote. And then at the last minute, they turn around and say, you know what, we're going to work with Comcast anyway, right? Like this thing that we told you that not just we need, but you need. Philadelphia needs this arena at Market East. To then all of a sudden turn around and be like, you know what, actually, we got a better deal. We're just going to stay basically in the same area.
All the money they made the city spend.
I can absolutely understand the people who look at this situation and say, sell the team, bozo, because there's no real defending where
Let's clip that
right now.
All right, so let me chime in here, and I want to preface this by saying that Bo's
he doesn't care about the Sixers.
That Bo's unnuanced response is going to be Zach's defending a billionaire. Okay, let me tell you.
Everybody knows that.
Now, let me tell you what my position on this, and tell me if I'm off base or if you see the merit in my position. I'm 38 years old. In my 35 years of being a sports fan, I've never met anyone who cheers for the owner, right? I've never met anyone who's like, I love this team because of the owner, right? A matter of fact, my position is that what your expectation should be from a sports franchise owner is somebody who invests in the team, somebody who tries to put a good product on the field, on the court, supports the players, is willing to spend, is willing to operate like a big league franchise. And if they treat it like a civic trust, like John Middleton does, even better. Right. But I mean, I'm not defending anything about Josh Harris. Like I've had 2 conversations with Josh Harris in my life. I don't know Josh Harris.
Flex.
Oh, he's got a personal relationship.
No,
with
no,
Look
no,
at that.
No wonder you've been glad-handed.
No. But what is undeniable, and Kyle knows this better than me, but if you spent a day at PCOM, their former facility, and you see where they are now, albeit across the bridge, but like for the players, it's a good place to go to work relative to what it once was. They consistently invest in you can say what you want about Doc Rivers, about Daryl Morey. These are people you have to spend a lot of money to go get. They're consistently paying the luxury tax, right? They're going, what's that? Like relative to what their ownership was previously there's more of an institutional investment. And to kind of put this in football terms, okay, the Chicago Bears have had an owner who have had like owners who are like tried and true Chicago. They're fans of the team, but they don't invest in whether it is the personnel that matters. They don't have the organizational stability. They don't have facilities, things like that. So my point is, am I off base in explaining what I think a good owner is? And I'm not saying Josh Harris is a good owner, but does he hit those check marks relative to the idea? Well, he's from Washington and he owns the Commanders, so he stinks.
Yeah, so I'll give you some outs here, ZB. I'll say this. So Jeffrey Lurie, I think, is kind of the gold standard for ownership, right? Where spends money, facilities are great, cares about the product and what they're giving to fans. And, there's also, if anybody cares about this stuff, I don't know, but a lot of really positive charitable initiatives through the team and, blah, 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 down the list. But I think there can be a thin line between, like, you want the owner to be involved, but you want that owner to stop at the right spot, right? So there's not, I mean this, I think Jeffrey Lurie is one of the best owners in sports, period. But there is not that much separation between someone who cares at the right level and is invested like Lurie and Jerry Jones, who thinks like, he's super invested. He just doesn't know how to run a team in, 2025. He shouldn't have been this responsible for the team for a long time now. And so there can be problems there where you get an owner who's too involved, and then that becomes an issue in itself. So what I would say is, if I want like a standard owner of a team, right? I want someone who's going to cut the check, and I want someone who cares about the product, is invested in giving fans something that's good on the floor, that's going to be forward looking, right? Like someone who is going to hire people that are trying to stay ahead of the league, right? So like Howie, in a lot of ways, you would think, the Sixers have tried to do that and have failed most of the time, right? Where like they hire Hinkie, and I think he was ahead, but then if you want to ding Harris for that situation, it's that they basically got bullied by the league to
100%.
make changes and hire the Colangelos, and like that's not being firm enough, right? That's not being strong enough in your conviction. So I would say your point is fair in that I think Harris and company do most of what you want from sports owners, but also I just don't think the contrast to either Lurie or someone like John Middleton, right? Like John Middleton is more of the firebrand, the guy who wears his heart on his sleeve, is like, I'm going to go get this by any means possible. We're going to spend as much money, more money than God, to try to put this team on the field and get a ring, get a trophy. And Josh Harris is more in the background, involved with other stuff, and it plays into this idea that he doesn't care. I don't think that that's necessarily the case, but it's hard to make.
But he owns 3 other teams, and this is not his top priority.
It's just like, it's not. Fans don't really care, right? Like it's what you can make them believe. And Josh Harris, whether it's with his public words or his actions, it's just hard to spin a story that says this guy is like all in and absolutely must win a championship with the Sixers. You make that case with the Commanders, right? But I don't think you can make that case with the Sixers.
Zach, I think the counter to what you said is that nobody roots for the owner. Lots of sports fans root against the owner. They're owner of their own team. And as I see what could happen on Sunday, if the Commanders win the game on Sunday and Josh Harris is in Lincoln Financial Field in his Commanders gear holding up the trophy,
it's a bad look.
A football throw away from the Sixers arena, that photo is going to be like the photo in Philadelphia that everybody remembers about Josh Harris forever.
Yeah. So look, I'm with you there. It is a bad look to own another team that's a rival of the city you own. I would also say it's not as if you can go to the store and purchase a sports franchise, right? Like the Washington Wizards weren't for sale. Like he couldn't buy the Washington Wizards. The Philadelphia Eagles weren't for sale. Like the reason he owns the Devils and the Sixers and the Commanders,
he's a Satan worshiper,
and Crystal Palace is because, like, look, he obviously has a lot of money. He wants to own sports franchises, and you have to buy the ones that are for sale. It's the reason why, like, pick your owner in a given sport who is not like Mark Cuban is not from Dallas. He's from Pittsburgh originally, right? But like, no, I mean, let's pick let's name a great sports owner. It's rare that. How about Jeffrey Lurie? Yeah, Jeffrey Lurie didn't buy the Philadelphia Eagles because he grew up in the 700 level.
No, but as you wrote, in your
He didn't
book.
then go buy the Boston Celtics, though.
He bought the Eagles and then made the decision that it was going to be important for him to be a part of the community and move his family and live in Philadelphia.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Look, I'm not defending that component of it. And like, if you've studied like the history of the Sixers ownership, they try to do like optics things for the very reason you said, like have like Will Smith have a very small portion of the ownership. Like there was a period of time where Michael Rubin was almost like a face of it, even though he had a much smaller percentage relative to Blitzer and Harris.
Now, there's a guy who earns your defense.
No, I'm not. No, I'm saying, but he's someone who grew up in this area. Yeah. Even like David Edelman, the whole thing with the arena deal is here's someone who's from this area. Like Josh Harris has made no bones about the fact that he's lived in New York. He lives in Miami now. I mean, he went to Penn, but that's the extent of like his connection with Philadelphia. The reality is the Sixers were available at a very good price. They were a distressed asset in 2011? Yeah, 2011.
And that's what you really want, right? Is an owner who has a good idea of when to buy low on a sports franchise.
But like, no, I'm saying like the reason he owns these different teams is those are the teams that are for sale. Like I've said this all along about the Eagles, is that there could be, say I don't want to pick someone, Brian Roberts could want to own the Eagles. The Eagles are not for sale, right? So you purchase the teams that are for sale, if that makes sense.
All right, so I would, I'm thinking about this as we're going through this conversation. If you want to look at a point of separation between someone like Lurie and someone like Josh Harris, the spending the money is there for the Sixers, right? And they're hiring big names, but big names that's not the business, right? The business is winning. The business is putting the best possible team on the field, on the floor, whatever it is. And so like, if you look at coaches that the Eagles have hired, for example, right? It's like when they hired Andy Reid, he's a quarterbacks coach, right? Yeah. They hire Nick Sirianni, he's an assistant. And meanwhile, the Sixers are like, hey, we got Doc Rivers. We got a guy who won a championship, and we got Nick Nurse. And it's like, hey, that's a great thing to try to sell it, right? But what's actually important at the end of the day is building a winning program and find the next guy, the guy who's going to be the next, version of Doc winning a title in 08, or the next version of Nick Nurse, who's an assistant in Toronto, gets promoted and they win a championship there, right? It's not just saying, hey, this guy's had success at a previous place, let's hire that person. It's having enough institutional knowledge and foresight to say, hey, we need to be not with the curve. We got to stay ahead of it. And we have to get the next guy who's got new ideas and a new outlook who can shake things up. And that I think the spending the money is not enough.
I think that's a very good point, because I think it ties it all together. Because the argument, Zach, is not, is Josh Harris a good enough owner of the Sixers to keep owning the Sixers? It's the Sixers are clearly not his priority. And so when you are doing the things that Kyle is talking about is, oh, well, let's just hire Doc Rivers or let's hire Nick Nurse. Those are lazy solutions that you're spending money on, but those are the kinds of decisions that you make when it's your third or fourth priority. And I think the city and the fans should want an owner who is like fully invested in. And I know that it's like there are lots of other owners who own multiple teams, and they just, everything is an asset, and that's fine. But I don't think anybody has to like that, and I don't think that Philadelphia has to like that.
I'm not so as often happens on the show, we are having two separate arguments. I'm not saying Sixers fans need to like Joshua Harris like at all. I'm simply saying like I don't think Josh Harris is a bad owner of the Sixers because he owns the Commanders. Like it's a bad look. I get that. But here, let me ask you this. Say he purchased the Carolina Panthers when the Denver Broncos went before it was the Commanders and the Broncos and the Panthers. So say he purchased the Broncos or the Panthers. Would you feel differently?
Probably.
Yeah, of course.
So it's the fact that it's a rival of the.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, look, I get that. I mean, I I would also say that like if he sold, or now it's actually HBSE, like if they sold their stake in the Sixers, I think they would do just fine. Like it's appreciated quite a bit. I imagine once the arena is constructed, the value will go up even more. But so yeah, like I'm by no means like I'm not out of touch with like Sixers fans here. Like
it's the children who are wrong.
I totally get it. I'm simply saying that like if you're here, I'll put it this way: if you're a Sixers fan,
all billionaires matter.
No, and it's not what I'm saying, bro. What I'm saying is, and I'm a Sixers fan, I would say that the ownership under Josh Harris and David Blitzer and whoever the group's been has been significantly better from my perspective.
But that's not the argument.
Wait, then the ownership under Comcast, then the ownership under Howard Katz, like the type of investment that there's been in the franchise since 2010 significantly outpaces what it was before then. And
nobody's arguing against that.
But I'm saying that's what you should want in an owner is like.
Yeah, but that's such a low bar. That's not the owner of the team is very replaceable.
It's a bar that's not often topped, right? Like I see Mike White, like no one when the thing we can all agree on is when the owner gets handed the trophy, whether it's the Lombardi Trophy or the Larry O'Brien Trophy or the Stanley Cup. Everyone's waiting for it, like give it to the coach, give it to the quarterback, give it to the MVP. No one's like, go. Let's go. They're not cheering on the owner, if that makes sense.
All right, we got to flip this over. We got to let Kyle go. Kyle, give us your prediction for Sunday.
Birds win. I refuse to give any other prediction. If I'm wrong, I'm happy. I won't be happy, but Birds win. I feel good. I've seen some posts about Commanders fans seem to think they're going to be able to get in and take over that part of the stadium. It's like, brother, you guys have not been in a high stakes Eagles game in a long time. That sure as heck ain't happening. So I feel good about where they're at. I hope Jalen can still move a little bit with the health stuff. I'm sure you guys are going to get to, but
we will.
Saquon for 150 yards and a W.
I like that. Thank you very much, Kyle. And what time are you guys live tomorrow?
We are actually off tomorrow, but I will be at Sixers practice, nice. Hopefully finding out that someone's appendage did not fall off and that Joel Embiid is indeed alive and able to play basketball at some point in the future.
Thank you very much. Kyle Neubeck of the PHLY Sixers podcast. Thank you for joining us. Before we bring on Vinny Curry, let me quickly tell you that once again, we are sponsored this bonus episode by Bet365 and TrueMark Financial. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary at Bet365 and visit TrueMark.com/compare for full details and to apply today. TrueMark Financial, federally insured by the NCUA Equal Opportunity Lender. Thank you, TrueMark. All right, let's bring him in. Super Bowl champion. You know him from the post-game show. You know him from much more than that. Vinny Curry, the wine room.
What's up, guys?
How we doing?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing? I'm trying to stay warm.
Are you drinking a bottle tonight? What do we got?
Nah, not tonight. Hopefully, I'll be drinking a lot Sunday. After the game, we be celebrating.
What's the best Italian red you have?
Oh, man, let me see. You ever heard of Prisoner?
You see, I don't know anything about wine.
This guy. Yeah.
No, but Zach, what you don't know, Vinny, is that Vic Fangio was talking about this the other day and referenced Italian wine, but with an Italian slur. And Zach had no idea that it was a slur, and he thought it was a kind of wine. And so there was a chance that he would have been out at a restaurant and just being like, "Oh, can I get that slur wine, please?"
No, so I had heard of that slur. I thought that was also happened to be the type of wine. I thought the way he was framing it was like that was a type of wine. So it is a good thing that it was clarified to me that that was not actually a type of wine that he was speaking about.
Oh man!
All right, Vinny, how are we feeling? How are we feeling about this game?
Man, I feel great, man. I feel great. I'm excited. I'm excited for the guys, man. You got a huge opportunity here at stake, and I feel real confident. I'm confident about it. Before I was like, a little nervous, but you know what? NFC Championship in Philadelphia, You can't ask for more than that.
What do you make of having to play a team a third time? Because we all know that second game was very chippy. You know, CJ Garner-Johnson gets thrown out. Jalen Carter was a little bit close to the edge. There was what might have been thought to be a cheap shot on Jalen Hurts that knocked him out. Some dirty after the whistle plays from the likes of Frankie Louvu. This game is going to be chippy. Like, how will that affect the game itself?
I'm expecting domination. I'm not gonna lie. Chippy, domination. I'm expecting domination, man. I expect the Eagles to go out there and make a real big statement.
When you look at, I'm curious. When you look at this matchup and you're in the defensive line room and you're facing a team that just lost their best offensive lineman, you know, Sam Cosmi's Washington's best offensive lineman. What's the conversation like in the defensive line room? Is everyone trying to line over? Is everyone trying to line up over the replacement guard? Do you build the game plan to get Jalen Carter there? What's it like on the D lineman in that situation?
It's Jalen Carter time. Come on, you know what Josh say? Yo, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So basically, like that meeting should be, yo, Jalen, fresh meat on the line, player. You know what I mean? Go get it. I think you just keep him on top of him the whole entire game and watch him take it over.
Now, what about the element of Daniels as a scrambler? Obviously, that's huge in this game. As a defensive lineman, what is different when you're playing a quarterback as mobile as he is?
So now what we're watching now here in the playoffs, right? We know Jalen Daniels is on fire, but let's talk about the Eagles staying in their rush lanes and how they're playing together on the defensive front. You know what I mean? So I'm pretty sure that they're going to try to keep him in the pocket.
In that sense, then is it more on the edge rushers? Then is it the linebacker who needs to, for lack of a better term, spy? How do you what's the coaching point with the mobile quarterback?
So you basically staying in your rush lanes. You got to rush. You got to rush together. Now, this is that game that you got to rush together. And if you're not rushing together, we'll be exposed. Zach, I won't necessarily say spy this game only because our best spy linebacker, is hurt right now. So I would like to think that Vic will probably throw some razzle dazzle in there just to try to knock him off his pivot up a little bit and try to speed Jalen's process up on getting rid of the football.
So when you say rushing together, what does that mean exactly?
So you can't just rush like both the guys can't rush high because now you're leaving that damn gap wide open that Jalen Daniels will go get a first down on. One go high, one stay low, get ready to cross over. So it might be the inside nose. It might be Milton to spy him, or a lot of loops around just to speed this process up and understand that it's not going to be that type of game that you can just go take over with your legs.
I have an NFC Championship experience question. It's not matchup specific here, but I'm fascinated by this because we're basically at the anniversary of the NFC Championship game against the Vikings a few years ago, right? And we've seen that clip is circulating of you guys dancing in the end zone before the game to Meek Mill, and just like the excitement, the energy. I've heard players say, like, in that moment they knew they were going to win. Jonathan Gannon said, he was the coach of the Vikings at the time. It was like, I've never felt a place this loud. Can you feel a difference in that type? Like, if I transport you to that moment, could you feel a difference in that atmosphere then compared to any other game?
Absolutely. You got to understand. So going into that game, just the disrespect that the Vikings was bringing to Philadelphia, you don't remember that? They fucking with the Rockets, like it was just it was poking a bear, and it was just like all week. They had the stuff on the screens in there, and then everybody knew what history was at stake right then and there in that moment. You couldn't tell us from that week of preparation up until that moment and that you guys seen that viral clip that we was going to lose that game, and we know that. You see at the end of that game, we wasn't surprised that we blew them out like that. We already knew mentally, what was going to happen. And if you remember, even that touchdown, I want to say we had 10 people on the field.
Mm.
Ah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah,
You
because they
know?
go up.
Yeah, it came on. Yeah, or I want to say Mike might have came on late. It was the crazy miscommunication. So that's why they,
That doesn't sound like
yo,
Hendrix. Yeah.
yo, so it go, so if you watch that sideline, what the guy, god damn, man, it was like kind of like one of those, but that mistake doesn't happen. And now you're looking at, they don't even score. So
Were you on the field for the Patrick Robinson pick six?
Oh yeah, I was out of breath. He was trying to razzle dazzle. I'm like, my man, just run goddamn straight. But it was dramatic fashion. I thought that was sick, man. P-Rob, man, he a beast, bro.
I think P-Rob has a good case for. We've been talking about, like, if Zach Bond leaves, if he signs elsewhere this offseason, he's probably the best single season Eagle in franchise history. I think until then, I think it's probably Patrick Robinson.
What was my? Yeah.
He was the best nickel in the
How
league.
many years was Walter Thurman on our team?
2 years, because he had 1 year corner, 1 year safety. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now you could also, from that 17 team, you could say LeGarrette Blount potentially, but I think Patrick Robinson would take that.
Yeah, Torrey Smith was on that team.
Yeah, that's hard to say, man. Because let me say, I seen LeGarrette Blount in LA when we went to play the Chargers. That game was crazy.
Oh, he was unbelievable.
Yeah, remember we was kind of like stellar for a second on offense. I'm like, what the hell going on? And I just remember LeGarrette saying, "Yo, man, like kind of like feed me," and he made them look like Pop Warner kids. That was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So then Howie or Jeffrey or Dom, they call you up this week and they say, Vinny, we want to channel what you guys had. Like, whatever was working in 2017, we want to get that emotion. We want to get that vibe going before the game. What do you tell them? How do you replicate that?
I say, so I was there when like I would say, when the team come out, man, you gotta let probably Meek Mill take the charge and come out to that song.
Yeah, I don't know if this team has a rallying song quite like that.
I don't know,
because you've been telling us, Zach, that like Howie's got the aux. They're not going to play Stevie Wonder and go nuts.
Yeah.
Like
that's more locker room.
They need a little more juice.
Yeah. The pregame.
Yeah, so I think it's like really, really one of those. But I think the way they've been rolling right now, they don't need no extra juice. At that moment and at that time, man, that was just a historic moment. You know what I mean? Even after the game, it was like it didn't matter who we played that day. So.
Yeah, that's what I've heard them say. Yeah, my theory is that the Eagles haven't formally brought out Kelce yet, right? Like he's been there for Monday Night Football and on the side they showed him on the screen with former teammates, but they haven't done the thing like where they had Brian Dawkins come out of the tunnel last week. They haven't done that with Kelce yet. I wonder if Kelce's in the bag for this week.
You know what? Okay, if you put it like that, I thought you was talking about a Raleigh.
They haven't done it with Fletch either, though, right?
Well, here's my thing. Do Kelce come out in the middle and have the two dog masks to the right and left of him, and him grab the mic?
Oh, there you go.
I wonder from Kelce's perspective if he doesn't want to make this. He's not on this team. He doesn't want to make it about himself. But if it's him and Fletch and somebody else, Vinny Curry, maybe.
That's the coolest thing about the guys. People understand, like, ain't nobody selfish. We just trying to bring the energy, man, and light this thing up, man. We really want to see them,
Yeah, where will Kelce be though?
He
might be in Kansas City.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
That is a good point.
Zach, you're getting the people hopes up now.
I'm
tickets just to see Cows.
Yeah, I'm just brainstorming here. The tickets are hard to come by from.
At the end of the day, I tell you what though. At the end of the day, you Saquon go for 200. They're gonna be tipsy off their ass out there. They're gonna need extra motivation with 26 in the backfield.
Yeah, maybe it'll just be Saquon. Yeah, there you go. All right, Vinny. I think that's all we got for you. We'll talk to you on Sunday.
Man, hey guys, listen. We got to bring the juice. I wish we could do the podcast live right there from the link, man. That'd be
fun,
crazy.
Me too. Pull some strings. Yeah. Pull some strings. Get us in there. We would love that.
Actually, don't do that, and then I do that now. And I'll be like, all right, let me make a phone call or two.
All right, we love it. Vinny
All
Curry,
right,
Super Bowl champion. Thank you so much. We'll see you on Sunday.
All
Thanks,
right.
Vinny.
Bye.
All right, Zach. Let's. There was some newsy stuff that we should get to from today's stuff at the Neubeck complex. Let's do it, Zach, through the prism of the Xfinity Game Ball. Yes, that's right. The Xfinity Game Ball is proudly brought to you by our friends at Xfinity Mobile. Join the millions who have switched to one of the fastest growing mobile services. And Zach, the two big injury questions for today: Jalen Hurts, Quinyon Mitchell. Are either of them getting a game ball for today's walkthrough?
Well, they were holding game balls, so that's the valuable thing today. Like, that's probably what you wanted to see today, is that Jalen Hurts was participating in the walkthrough. Had this been a full practice, he would have officially been limited. Quinyon Mitchell participated in the walkthrough. Had this been a full practice, he would have officially been limited. So those two players, those are not the injuries that I would be concerned about right now. Now, obviously, you are wondering how will Jalen function in the game. Jalen spoke after practice today and said he's taking it day by day. Every game calls for something different. He said that he participated, right? So there's not really an indication there. You spoke to Quinyon Mitchell. What was Quinyon Mitchell's sentiment about the way he felt?
It was a funny one, Zach, which I think you would appreciate, because it was one where locker room's 45 minutes. At the very beginning of the locker room, you see Quinyon Mitchell very briefly come in and head to the shower. About 20 minutes later, he comes back from the shower, just grabs some clothes and heads back to the bathroom. And you're like, he doesn't want to talk today. Like, his status must still be up in the air. They don't want to go on the record yet. And then at the very end of the locker room, like 40 minutes in, he walks back to his locker, and he's like the only one that people are waiting for, because Jalen Hurts is speaking in the auditorium concurrently. And the head of PR comes over. He's like, Quinyon, like, there's only like a couple minutes left in locker room. Like, do you want to talk now, or would you rather just talk tomorrow? And Quinyon's like, well, what do you want me to do? You're the boss. He's like, I don't know. What do you want me to do? He's like, I'll just do it now. And yeah, his message is, I'm fine. I'm good to go. I'm going to play. Mm-hmm. So he said he was not really ever concerned that it was a super serious thing. He was hoping to go back into the game on Sunday, but they held him out. He was very impressed with how well Isaiah Rodgers played, but he's ready for this matchup. He's excited. He's good to go.
That's good news for Eagles fans. Now, bad news for Eagles fans is two players who would not have touched the game ball at practice today had they had a full practice. And that is Dallas Goedert, who has an ankle injury. And we saw, I think you were talking about it, Dallas Goedert got twisted up at the end of the, late in the game. Was it you who were talking?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Could have been. A lot of things I don't remember.
Yeah. And then Cam Jurgens with a back injury. So
that's a concerning one.
Yeah. So these are, now we heard Fran talk about how badly the Eagles missed Dallas Goedert in the running game against Washington, and how CJ Uzomah whiffed. And by the way, the Eagles don't even have CJ Uzomah anymore. He's on IR. So it's Grant Calcaterra and A.J. Jenkins are the two backup tight ends right now. So we'll see how that goes with both of those players. But this is not a rest situation. These are players who would have been DNP because of injuries.
And we talked about on the show this afternoon that the Eagles made a little kind of interesting addition to the practice squad in Cam Irving, who's a 32-year-old offensive lineman who can play all over, including center. Do you think that was connected to the Jurgens injury?
Well, it's a good question, because we didn't have that information at the time. And yeah, look, if I should back up here. If in a world in which Jurgens doesn't play, who starts? Dickerson at center, and then you put Steen in at guard?
Well, let's talk through the options.
Yeah. When
it has happened this season, on occasion, it has been Dickerson at center and Steen at guard. I think that is their best five. They also have Nick Gates on the roster, but he has been inactive. and
Brett
Brett Toth can do it, and he's
okay.
been the backup to the backup on game day since Jack Driscoll went down. But I don't think that that's their best answer. I think their best answer, unfortunately, is in Los Angeles, and that's the reason that they drafted him was for this moment. However, I think if Juergens was out, I think they would go Dickerson at center and Steen at left guard.
Yeah, this is going to be. I think it's a big story to watch. Now, I should also note that Nick Sirianni, because during conference championship week, he has to speak every day. It's league rule. So Sirianni will have a press conference tomorrow. I don't anticipate Nick Sirianni giving much information on Cam Juergens or Dallas Goedert. Practice will go on while we're on our show tomorrow, so we'll get updates from the reporters at practice. Then the injury report comes out tomorrow. But yeah, Thursday's report is going to be critical here.
It's always listen. Who knows what the status of his back is?
Yeah,
and you don't want to mess with a bad back. But it's always when a guy finishes a game, you expect that he's going to be able to play the next week.
Typically, unless it's something that flares up after the game, that kind of
Right.
So no, it's a good point. And which one concerns you more there, Juergens or Goddard?
Probably Juergens because it's new. I mean, the only Dallas Goedert we've ever known is a Dallas Goedert who is often banged up.
Sure.
So as long as he's able to play, now if you're saying who would you rather have, it's actually tough. I think you can make a case for Goddard because I think that with Dickerson and Steen you're okay, but that's you don't want to mess with the continuity of the offensive line this late in the season. I don't know.
It's a good point. This adds intrigue. I mean, I think. Well, if they would go Dickerson Steen, then the Goddard injury concerns me more because I just don't think they have the personnel at tight end. Now that said, I mean they won a lot of games this year without Dallas Goedert, right? We haven't played without Cam Juergens, but I don't. I think they can get by with Dickerson and Steen.
Okay. Well, congratulations to Quinyon Mitchell, Jalen Hurts, Landon Dickerson, Tyler Steen, Cam Juergens, and Dallas Goedert on their Xfinity Mobile game ball.
I should just tell everyone the other part of the injuries today. Had they had a full practice, A.J. Brown would have been limited with knee rest. A.J. Brown spoke after practice, said he's progressing. He said the deep ball that he dropped the other day, 99 out of 100 times he would catch that ball. He doesn't like using excuses, but the conditions were what they were. He said that after the game that the conditions really affected them. But he feels good. He didn't want to go into too much detail otherwise, but he feels good entering this game. Britton Covey would have been limited with the neck injury, like you said. The 21-day practice window open. Lane Johnson, he's on there for knee/rest. So the knee is new, right? But he would have been limited. He's going to play. Josh Sweat is on there for ankle/rest. And then Kenny Pickett, full participant with the ribs injury. Byron Young,
That's worth keeping in mind, though.
What's that?
That's worth keeping in mind, him being listed on the injury report.
He's been on it because
I know, but I'm just saying.
Okay. You're really hoping they go McKee.
I'm not hoping for anything. I have no rooting interest.
You know what I mean. You're really.
If I was an Eagles fan, I would be hoping for that because he's a better player.
Yeah, that's how I should have framed it. Yeah, you're really kind of pushing. I should say for the McKee part of it. I thought McKee looked better in the game he played with backups than against most starters than Kenny Pickett did with starters. That's just my view on it. We'll also say that I don't expect Byron Young to get activated. I think the Eagles view this as 3 full weeks of practice for Byron Young, and then he'll revert to IR.
Okay. Hey, if Brandon Graham, let's fast forward it. Eagles win this game. Let's just say they did it. Congratulations. They're going to New Orleans. Brandon Graham's able to play. How many snaps is he going to play? Like, what do you think his role? Do you think it's like 10 snaps? What do you think?
Yeah, 10 to 15 snaps.
Mm.
Yeah, 10 to 15 snaps. Absolutely. I mean, I don't think it'll be much, but it'll be more than Bryce Huff, whatever it is.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Some super chats to get to, including a fresh one in from Chase Daniel Plainview, who says, Josh Harris invites me to 76ers games, and I always say that the arena is too far from my Center City penthouse. Am I responsible for this mess?
Yeah. So, all right. So here, let me address two things, because I promise you this will keep me up at night tonight. Like I'm definitely gonna be rolling over in bed at 2 a.m. saying,
Why? I don't think
as well. I was articulating what I think you should look for in a sports owner. I was not defending.
Yeah, but I don't think that was never the conversation. I don't think, as far about this week, it's not like, is Josh Harris an adequate owner of the 76ers?
So I was saying, so like, if you're a Sixers fan, I'm saying you're like, he was better than the alternative. Now that said, and I told Bo this off camera 2 weeks ago, I'm really put off by the way the Sixers handled the arena situation. So that's part of Chase thing. Because I felt it to be disingenuous to spend 2 years suggesting this, and then essentially you're just using city council as leverage for. I don't like human collateral as it is. Like I think that's I think I thought all along, like I understood the merit of the Center City Arena in the sense of, like I used to work at 8th and Market. That's a spot that's been a dead, that's really struggled to kind of have any type of something that lasts there. It was privately funded, so I understood the arguments against it but I'm like, if someone's building a privately funded arena there and it's gonna spur economic development and create jobs, like, okay, I can see the merit in it. I certainly don't understand all that's surrounding it, but I understood the merit in it. But if basically you were trying to just bring that to get approval to sweeten it, so then Comcast says, okay, we'll give you a better deal here. It's in South Philly. Everything you're saying about, like, the Center City, how you saw what this did in downtown developments in Boston and in San Francisco, and you're going in all these different cities. And then you're talking about how when you share an arena, you don't get the dates that you want, and you have all these points. And then it's like, you just do this about face because you get a sweeter deal. To me, it's disingenuous, because it really strikes me as like city council and really citizens are used as collateral to get a better deal. And that, to me, that strikes me as disingenuous and just like, I understand business, but I think that just really rubbed me the wrong way. Right.
Zach, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
It is to your credit that could possibly catch you by surprise. That you are well-meaning enough, and you believe that everybody is well-meaning enough to believe the obvious BS that they were spewing that entire time.
Well, it's not that I was believing their BS. Like I saw like the merit behind it, right? Like, it's like, all right, and again, I just, like, 2 years is a long time, and the amount of just I just don't like. I don't like using people as pawns. To me, it's so.
How do you think he made all of his money?
I just don't, that really struck me. That really rubbed me the wrong way. It's like you just ended up here, right? And it's like I would actually have, if they didn't get approval and they're like, all right, let's go back to the table and figure this out, or they used, they said we're going to go to Camden, and then it's like, no, it should be in Philly, but like nothing changed other than Adam Silver got involved and you got a better deal in South Philly, and you get the benefit of the franchise appreciation, but you don't have to put up the money to build the arena yourself because it's a 50-50 split. And so you spend less, but you get the benefit. To me, it's like that really rubbed me the wrong way. So I did not. So Chase Daniel Plainview held it up. And by the way, I disagreed with Howard Eskin's point. I'll bring up Howard Eskin. I like
a Neubeck episode, no less.
Yeah, I love public transit. I thought, okay, maybe this could spurn people, or this could propel people to take public transit. It's easier for fans from South Jersey and from the western suburbs and from Delaware County to get to 8th and Market than it is South Philly, right? It's one train instead of a train connecting to a subway. I understood all of this, and I'm like, okay, maybe if you add trains, this could be beneficial. And to me, it's like, I heard all these points for 2 years, and I read them, and I listened, and I had conversations about them, and then in 2 weeks, it's like,
yeah,
that really bothered me. Yeah. That really bothered me.
I'm sorry. I mean,
yeah,
you need to live a much more disbelieving life if you don't want to be bothered by those things. But I know that's not for you.
Yeah, I mean, I would. I understand. I can be idealistic. I get that, but it's just that. Yeah, I don't need to get into all that. What's the next super chat?
Well, we have one from Evil Zach Berman, who says, just stopping by to say hi. He needs to get his 11 hours of sleep.
Yeah. So Evil Zach Berman's like the opposite of me.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to Mr. V. You know who you are. He's really pushing me to get more sleep, and I'm trying my best. But like tonight, this show is important, but I want to write. And, we got. I want to get stuff up there. Yeah. So again, the season's over soon. I'll have a lot of time to sleep during the off season. I've been working on it. I told Emily I'm trying.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mr. V. I mean, I love Mr. V. I imagine it is who it is, but
yeah, I'm wearing this ring.
But I mean, yeah, this is even more of an uphill battle than getting Zach to not be idealistic.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'll put it that way. Last night, I don't even want to read it out loud. But
thanks everybody for watching on Fast, by the way. And we got a couple more minutes before we wrap up here. You can check it out on allphly.com. Another super chat from Entrepreneur215, who says, is there any way we can get Josh Harris to sell the team? How can we force him to sell?
Honestly, I would say when that arena's built and the value goes up even more, it gets to a point like it did with Mark Cuban, where the value keeps going up and there's a deal that's too good to be true. That is my guess, is that find someone who's willing to spend what who was it? Shelly Adelson? Oh, well, not something else. Since the one passed.
Yeah, I don't know if we need to go there.
Yeah, no, his wife bought the Mavs, so find someone who's going to spend X amount of dollars to purchase the team. Yeah. Because I don't think the Sixers, by the way, it's like the Eagles are not for sale anytime soon. The Phillies are not for sale anytime soon. I don't think like the Sixers are going to be like in this ownership structure for the next 50 years, 100 years, that kind of thing.
I truly do think that if the Commanders win on Sunday and when we get that Harris photo in the link, there's like a not super long-term path to Josh Harris announcing that he's taken a step back from the Sixers.
Yeah. I mean, like honestly, I think what it would be is like
someone else is taking over as the majority owner.
Yeah, or like David Blitzer steps in as like the face of the ownership group as opposed to Josh Harris. I can certainly see that taking place.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And by the way, like I would even like suggest that to them. Like now, like I would say, like Josh, you can still reap all the benefits of the team.
So we do agree about this.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like it's not you're not endearing yourself to your fan base for sure. And I see your point. Like the Cronkies own the Nuggets, the Avs, and the Rams. Okay,
Right.
And so like if the the Lakers have played the Nuggets in the postseason, right? And I can't.
Yeah, but it's not a rivalry.
Sure. But I would say like, yeah, take a step back and put whether it's Blitzer or Edelman or pick someone else there. Yeah.
Okay, let's close out, Zach, with some of the press conference highlights. You heard from Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown today. What do we need to know?
Yeah, have not. I will listen through to Saquon after the show. I was talking to a few players in the locker room during that period, so I was not there for Saquon. For AJ, like I said, 99 times out of he said 99 times out of 100, he would have caught that ball. He actually, he said that he's feeling good going into this game. So those were some of the highlights from AJ. I'll have more on social there. With Jalen Hurts, he said, he's caught some of Jaden Daniels this year when they played on separate nights. He was able to watch them. Didn't really get into too much detail on that. Respects Washington's secondary in particular. Interesting, you spotted this today too. He was playing pool in the players' lounge.
This is my most basic, like, simp opinion. That I'm throwing it out there. This is not a real thing. It's not supported by anything, but it's just the thought that crossed my head as I'm in the locker room and you see in the players' lounge that Jalen Hurts is playing pool with Darian Kennard, and I'm thinking this is a great sign.
Yeah, so
it's great news for the Eagles.
Yeah, so
not just because he's putting it out there, and as you would tell us, everything that Jalen Hurts does is intentional. He was probably expecting to be spotted here on the way to his press conference. But I've said the thing before about how I've never seen him more relaxed and like just not wound super tight than Super Bowl week.
Yes,
from 2022. He was really like embracing sort of the fun of that moment. And he played the best game he's ever played. And so I'm just thinking, he's got a little bit of a, you know what? I'm back in the NFC Championship game. Who cares how banged up I am? I'm going to play some pool with my man DK. And I'm thinking, okay, let's go.
So I asked him about this today.
You did?
Yeah. I asked him how often he gets back there and if he feels it's important for the quarterback to be in the lounge sometimes. And he smiled. He says, depends who I see in there. Sometimes I get a little triggered and come get you some. He said, I won today. He played against Isaiah Rodgers and DK were the two people he played against.
Yes, I believe he won both games.
He said he won today. Yep.
Okay. I think there was a scratch on the 8 ball involved, but I can either confirm nor deny that quite yet.
Okay. So AJ Brown, you might have. I asked Jalen this because a few players were talking about this, including AJ Brown. I asked AJ Brown about Slay, and AJ Brown was like effusive in his praise of Slay. He called Slay a Hall of Famer. He said the only thing that he gets on Slay on is the tattoo that Slay has. So Slay has a tattoo on his leg of him meeting Kobe Bryant, and it looks like Odell Beckham Jr. And Slay even joked, like Slay was showing people the tattoo in the locker room today. He said at the time he had his hair like Odell. He's like, that's definitely me. But he's like, he can laugh about it because he does see why people say it is Odell. And so I asked Jalen, about Slay, and Jalen gave like a quote about Slay. And then I was like, do you think the tattoo looks like Odell? And Jalen didn't even. I thought it might get some personality out of Jalen, and Jalen's like, yeah, you can ask him or like something like that. So Jalen didn't necessarily play ball, but I was asking players today about Slay in the locker room, and Slay's this says something about somebody when you bring up their name and the person's first reaction is just start to crack up, right? So one player I was talking to, and I said, what's your funniest like slay moment. And then he just starts laughing. He's like, well, that I can share. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, I'll probably say the tattoo that looks like Odell, right? Like people brought this up. So, yeah. So, but Jalen wanted nothing to do with that one.
Sorry. One more super chat from Chris Monera, who says he's 20 minutes into the draft pod with Fran, and he gives it a fire emoji. Also, Zach, I sent you an email about a signed copy of your book.
Chris, I apologize. I will search your name once we get off this, and I will respond if I missed that email. But yeah, we'll definitely take care of that.
Please do check out the draft podcast with Fran, the first episode. Let's bump that bad boy up. Let's get the comments and thumbs up going. Absolutely.
Please, for the draft show, for our show, leave comments. I read them all, but it's also it's helpful to us as well when you
for comment. All that we do for you, we ask so little of you.
Yeah. We're putting out like 15 hours of
Zach is sacrificing his well-being for this show. And I saw somebody ask what the schedule might be for the Super Bowl. I'll tell you this. If the Eagles are in the Super Bowl, if they win on Sunday, the week of the Super Bowl, down in Nolens, we're going to be very well represented, and we're going to have 2 shows a day. We're going to have our normal time show and a show at night every single night. So there you go. And the look of terror you see is on my friend Zach's face, who's thinking, "How am I gonna get this all done?
Oh my goodness!" Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I remember the.
You're gonna have to find a way to hack into Olivia's laptop and just write the same stories that she's writing.
Yeah, I remember Phoenix. I was by Saturday in Phoenix. I was just couldn't move. I couldn't move. I was so tired.
We had a meet up.
I went out. Yeah, I went out to dinner that Saturday night, and I think I fell asleep at the table.
I remember this. Yes.
Yeah. So. Yeah,
that's the thing. I mean, so we are going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
Radio Row, win or lose, no matter what. And boy, is there going to be a difference in our week between if the Eagles are playing in the game and if not. And obviously, it's better for us if they're in the game. Yeah. We get to put out a bunch of content. Everybody's going to be excited. But we're going to be working. Not that we wouldn't be working hard anyway, but we're going to be pulling like triple time.
Last year was a much more pleasant experience, just like from like a lifestyle.
Plus, you were in Vegas, so you were.
Oh yeah, that was
pinky rolling in it.
I didn't get to play until last night, I didn't get to play until last night there.
You played once before then.
That's right. I was out in like 15 minutes. Yeah,
that's generous.
I don't reach back into my pocket. That's the rule.
All right. Well, you got work to do.
Yep.
We got a show tomorrow at 2:00. You and me, we're going to have Colin Wulf join us for a little bit at the end of the show tomorrow. So we're looking forward to that as well. And then on Friday, the Professor joining me. And away we go. So for Kyle Neubeck, Vinny Curry, Julia, thanks to everybody for joining us live. Thanks to everybody watching after the fact. Comment, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. We will talk to you tomorrow. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.